Hi everyone, so welcome to the next of our Love Your Body series, and today I'm going to be showing you our deep tissue massage. I have the lovely Alex here as my model for today, and we're going to show you what our deep tissue massage includes. We have a lot of advanced techniques that we use in this treatment, so here goes. So our deep tissue massage is great for anybody who suffers with aches and pains. Anybody who's struggling with alignment problems, so maybe you feel like your shoulders are out of line, your pelvis is out of line, which is causing you pain. So really good for backache, neck tension, headaches, and also for people who are doing lots of exercise, people who are doing sports. Perhaps you've got events coming up, so really good in the lead up to an event. And it's a combination of some Swedish massage techniques and some firmer techniques. So not necessarily the greatest massage if you like a nice relaxing massage. We've got lots of other massages that are more relaxing than deep tissue. We do try and make it a bit relaxing as well, but our main focus is actually to make you feel better and to help your problem areas. So we don't just get in there and do the really deep work straight away. We always have to warm up the area with sort of our usual massage techniques. So if you haven't had a deep tissue before, then you'll recognise some of our techniques that we use. You might have had our signature massage, which is a good sort of in-betweener. So if you watch this and think, actually that's not for me, it's maybe a bit too firm, then our signature massage is sort of one step down from our deep tissue massage. So it's not quite as firm, but it still uses stretching techniques and some sort of advanced firmer techniques. So that's a good in-betweener between our sort of Swedish and our deep tissue. So I'm focusing on all of the muscles. The main thing I'm trying to do is increase the length in the muscles. So most of our muscles sit short. There will be some muscles in your body that are sitting long, but most muscles get over tight and over short, and that's because of the things that we're doing every day. So things we're doing at work, positions that we're sitting in. Perhaps you are something like a hairdresser or someone that has their arms up in the air all the time, so you're putting your body into a funny position. Perhaps you're doing a lot of driving, and exercise in itself is shortening the muscles. So it's really important that you stretch at the end of your day and at the end of your exercise, so that you can lengthen those muscles out again. And if your muscles have got really short, then we're going to help to lengthen those back out again with this massage. So we've got lots of techniques that are going to lengthen the muscles more than you can lengthen them in your own stretching. So you might find that you've got some knee pain, which is quite common if the quads are really tight. So if you've got any pain when you're bending your knees or going up and down the stairs, then often one of the muscles in your quad, in the top of your leg, is sitting too tight. So we can lengthen that, and then the knees will start to track correctly again, which means you won't have that knee pain. So Alex is really tight in his quads. He's doing a lot of exercise, so that's quite normal. He's probably not stretching enough. So yeah, I'm just working quite firmly into the quads to try and loosen them off and to lengthen them so that the knee can then track correctly, so that we don't create any problems later down the line with the knees. So the good thing, I think, if you're having a regular massage, especially if you're doing a lot of exercise or if you're training for something, so if you're in training for a marathon or triathlon or some kind of event, you obviously don't want to get niggles along the way and find that you become injured. So the good thing when you come for a deep tissue is we can feel the things that you perhaps don't know are there yet, and we can fix them before they become a big problem. So often we'll find something that you didn't know was painful, maybe it hasn't been giving you problems, and we'll find that and be able to fix it, and also we'll be able to then let you know that you need to be careful of that area, you need to stretch more so that we can prevent injuries. So we're just working nice and deeply into the muscle. So deep tissue, a lot of people will ask if deep tissue is painful. It's definitely firm. Some of the techniques that we use might be more painful for a short amount of time, so we use trigger point and different stretching techniques that some people can find a little bit painful, but we've got all the other things in between that, which are relaxing the muscles and going back to more of a normal massage in between. But certainly if you're looking for a really nice relaxing massage, then choose one of our others, because the treatment is there to do work and to fix you basically. So I'm going to do something now called STR. So I'm locking into the muscle and then I'm bending Alex's leg. So this technique is fantastic for lengthening the muscles out more than we can lengthen them in a stretch. So I'm basically finding a section of the leg and I'm locking off that section so that that section alone is being stretched. So it feels quite satisfying, I think, this one, for when you're having it done. We use it in lots of different areas of the body, but really good when something is sitting short. So you'll come up from your massage and you'll feel a lot more flexible, a lot more lengthened, and often the muscles that are sitting short in your body are the ones that are causing you pain. So we use this technique, soft tissue release, a lot throughout the body in this massage, but it is quite bespoke. So if there's areas of the treatment that you're not so keen on, you want to bring it down a level, then your therapist can do that and can take out some of those things, and we have some stretching techniques that are different that we can include instead. So I've done my stretching. Then to stretch the quads, I need to do that when Alex is on his front. So I'll come back to a quad stretch later on. So that has really loosened off now. It's not sitting as tight, which is good. So I'm going to work around the knee. Just check for any problems around the knee. And then I'm going to come onto the calf. So one of the other things we include a lot in the deep tissue is stretching. So as well as the technique that we were just doing, the STR, we can do a standard stretch where we're just taking the muscle into a stretch and holding it there. Or we can do an MET, muscle energy technique, where we're going to ask you to push against us. So some people in their deep tissue will be super relaxed and perhaps don't want to be doing things throughout their massage. So we will adapt our massage depending on how you seem. Obviously if you're super relaxed, then we'll just do a held stretch. Some people, they don't mind helping out with their deep tissue because they want to get looser and more flexible, so that's quite bespoke to each and every client. So Alex, if you just push your toes into my hand gently. So I'm getting Alex to push, which is using his opposite muscle to contract, and keep pushing, take a deep breath in, and as you breathe out, relax. Relax for me. So what that does is when your opposing muscle is contracting, the muscle that we're working on to lengthen basically can no longer think about its length because the other muscle is contracting. So we have a few seconds to trick it into a new length so we can increase its length. And push again for me, gently. Keep pushing and breathe in, and breathe out and relax. So each time we're getting a little bit more length in that muscle. This is similar, some of you might have heard of PNF, which is often used in the gyms and some personal trainers will use it. It's just a different name for the same technique. And once more, push gently for me. Keep pushing and breathe in. And breathe out and relax. So I've increased the length of his calf and really got some more flexibility in with that technique. So that's one that we use throughout the body. Just going to do a little bit of mobilisation on the foot and the ankle. So every time you come for a deep tissue, it's always going to be different because we're working on what we find in the body that day. So you're not always going to get the same massage, and from person to person the massage will be different. So it's very much tailored to your body, how it's feeling, what you've got problems with. We might spend a little bit more time in one area than another if you've got a lot of problems in that area. You know, some people come in and they're not too bothered about their arms are feeling fine, but they've got a lot of issues in their back, and they're happy for us to focus a bit more on their problem areas. And we'll still do the whole body, but we'd maybe spend a little bit less time on the areas that we don't find problems with. Okay. So now I'm going to move on to the other leg. As I said, I'm going to come back and stretch the quad when I turn Alex over. Okay, so I've finished both the legs and I'm moving on to the arms. So arms can be quite an important one for some people, especially if you're working out a lot or if you use your arms a lot in your job. Lots of people have pain in their elbow, pain in their wrist, or sometimes sort of a dead hand that's coming from a tension in the lower arm. So we can do quite a lot of work on the arm in this massage. We tend to not do a huge amount on the hand, we do that more in our relaxing massages, but we do a lot of stretching on the arm and just trying to make sure that there's no kind of parts of the lower arm that are stuck together. So the bones need to be able to move freely in the lower arm to not be in any pain in your wrist and hand. So I'm just warming up the area first of all. I can see straight away that Alex's shoulders are rolling forward slightly, which is quite common, especially if people are doing a lot of working out and have worked their pecs, so their pecs will come short and will bring the shoulder forward. So if you don't fix that, then you'll end up with pain sort of in the neck, coming into the shoulder blade and up into the head, and you can get tension headaches, and you can also sometimes get pain in your actual shoulder because your shoulder's not in the correct position, so as you lift your arm, your shoulder's not functioning correctly. So I'm going to fix that when I come to do his chest work, and that's something that we work on a lot in our deep tissue massage. So that's where it's important to choose your right massage. If you come into us for a Swedish massage or aromatherapy, something nice and relaxing, but you're in a lot of pain and your shoulders are rolling, then really we need you in for a deep tissue, or at least our signature, if we're going to have any effect on the pain that you're having sort of in your neck and shoulders. So sometimes we maybe recommend that you choose a different massage. Obviously that's completely up to you if you take that advice. But if you know that you're getting a lot of pain in those areas, have a look at yourself in the mirror and see if you can see any changes in your shoulders. Sometimes you can see it yourself that your shoulders are rolling forwards, and then you know that deep tissue is going to be a good choice in order to fix that. So once I've warmed up the area, I'm going to do some STR, so the soft tissue release that we saw earlier on the legs. So I'm locking into the muscle and stretching away. So as I say, this is a really nice kind of satisfying stretch when you're having it done. And if your arms feel very stiff, and if your hands have that kind of dead feeling where maybe sometimes you pick something up and they don't quite feel like they've got their full strength, this will often be from your muscles in your arms sitting too short and have become over tight, so this will really help that. So I'm doing the same thing but with rotation to loosen off the rest of the muscle and coming up towards the shoulder. So really thinking about the function of the body really with our deep tissue, as opposed to just giving you a nice massage. So lower arms, have lots of hairdressers who find they get very tight in the lower arm. And if you're on a computer all day, and if you're doing quite repetitive work, then your arm muscles can get very tight. So again, I'm doing some STR. Alex is very tight in his lower arms. It's a place that people don't really stretch, so if you're doing a lot of exercising, or if you're working out, doing a lot of weights, you probably stretch your big muscles that you're using in your workout, but you probably forget to stretch your lower arms. So it's something that can get really tight, and sometimes a lot of people can have pain up in their elbow from these muscles being tight. So it's really worthwhile loosening them out, and then we can give you some stretches as well to work on at home to loosen up those areas. So that's the same with everything with the deep tissue. We're here to figure out what's going wrong in your body, and then we'll send you away with a few stretches and a few things that you can be working on so that we can actually improve the way your body's functioning. So I'm just now loosening up, making sure that the bones move freely around each other and not being restricted by the muscle. And then I'm going to do a little bit of work on the hand. Some people come in, they've got a lot of pain in their hands, in which case we'll obviously work more on the hands. And then I'll move across to the other arm. So one of the other things we use in deep tissue is trigger point. So sometimes you might have had a massage with us and we're suddenly completely still on a point, and usually you think, oh yeah, that's it, that's the spot, because we've found a trigger point. So if we're holding completely still on a point, that's what we're doing. We've found a specific area that feels different, feels tight, and these can be trigger points, and by just holding on them, they can release off and release the muscle off. Okay, so coming on to the chest is one of the most important things for us to cover if there's pain in the neck and around the back. And often if you have a back, neck and shoulder, people might just work on your back with you face down. We always include in our back, neck and shoulder the chest as well, so we always work with you face up, because the positioning of your shoulders is so important into how we can fix back, shoulder and neck pain. So if your shoulders are rolling and we don't get those back into position, then we're not going to have such a great effect with the massage. So we always really check the shoulders, and also we can then tell you if your shoulders are not aligned correctly, and then you then know that's something you can work on at home in between your massages to keep the length in your chest, to keep those shoulders where they should be and help yourself at home. So I'm working into the neck, and lots of people are really tight in this area because of the way we sit, and these muscles all attach up into the head. So anyone who has tension headaches will be because of the tension in these muscles is then pulling on the attachments up at the head. So we really want to make sure that we get these nice and long and remove any tension from those muscles and help them to relax. So we do lots of stretching on the neck in our deep tissue massage and lots of firm work around here. So we normally find a few good trigger points. Got a nice trigger point here, it's very tight, so sitting in the upper traps. I'm just going to hold on that area for a little while to try and relax that off. And then we're going to come on to some stretches and the STR work that we did earlier. We're going to do that on the neck, so that will really lengthen out those muscles. So as I was saying earlier, Alex's shoulders are rolling slightly because his pecs are tight. So I'm just going to stretch out the shoulders, stretching out the pecs to let the shoulders relax back down to where they should sit. So there's lots of muscles that make up the shoulder rotator cuff that affect the positioning of the shoulder. So we're just going to work on all of those muscles. Hold your arm there for me. And reach arm to the back wall. So a couple of these can be a bit sore. Come back. This is pec minor I'm working on, so it's a very deep muscle. So it's quite an intense stretch, but it's really good at getting the shoulder back down to where it needs to be. And it doesn't last long. So then we're going to stretch out pecs. Just to Okay, so coming on to the leg and really looking at the hamstring to check whether that's tight, because if you're exercising and you're training for something and your hamstrings are tight, then we need to be careful of that. We need to get you stretching a bit more, because if you injure a hamstring, then that can put you out of your training. So always looking at the hamstring, seeing if it's sitting too short. Also, problems in the hamstring can often be the cause of back pain, so it's important to get those hamstrings nice and loose so that they're not causing any problems further up in the back. The connective tissue runs all the way up in the same train, so it can affect the back if it's tied down here. So a bit of warming up first of all, and then we're going to work across the muscle. So we do this much more in deep tissue than we do in our other treatments, because it's really breaking down any problem areas, and then we come back to work in line with the muscle to line those fibres back up again. So lots of people will always say, oh, I've got a knot, or an area that they feel is really gristly. And what's happened there is you've slightly injured a couple of the muscle fibres, so you can tweak the fibres. And then the body tries to heal that injury. It can only be tiny, just a few of the tiny fibres, but it puts the fibres down in the wrong direction. So you can kind of get a chewing gum effect where the muscle fibres are sort of sitting in the wrong direction. And then they just build up, and you end up with an area of the muscle that's very stuck, and then the muscle can't move freely. So we can break those down and then realign them back into the correct alignment, and then the muscle can then work more effectively in that plane of movement. So Alex's hamstring is pretty tight, so I'm going to work a bit more deeply into the hamstring, and then I'm going to use my soft tissue release to really lengthen that hamstring out and to realign the muscle. So then I'm coming back to his quads, because we found when he was on his front that his quads were very tight. So I'm going to give those a stretch. So just trying to get the length back into those quads. He's doing a lot of exercise, so you'll find if you're doing any kind of exercise class or weights that are very heavily based on squats, your quads can get quite short, and then they can start pulling on the knee. So if you are doing a lot for your quads, then you need to really make sure that you stretch. And also quad stretch is one of the ones that people don't stretch for long enough. You need to really hold that for a minute or two on each side, and make sure you can really feel the stretch in your quads. Sometimes when you do the sort of typical heel to bottom stretch, you can't really feel the stretch in the right place in your quads, so maybe you need to change to a lunge with then pulling your heel up, so knee on the floor and then heel to bottom whilst you're in a lunge, or change your stretch around so you can really feel that the stretch is being effective. So I'm going to use our muscle energy technique here because his quad is quite tight. So Alex, if you push into my shoulder, so trying to straighten your leg out gently. Keep pushing and take a deep breath in. And breathing out and relax. So that really increases the muscle length. Almost like magic. You're essentially tricking the muscle into its new length. So you can leave your massage with your muscles much longer and more flexible, and then it's really your job to go away and do your stretching in between to keep that length ready for your next massage following month or whenever you're coming back in. And push again for me. Keep pushing and breathe in. And breathe out and relax. So it's really increased the length of the quads there, which will really help how tight they feel. One more time, push for me. Keep pushing, breathe in. And breathe out and relax. And then we're just holding it there at the end, just to remind the muscle that that's its new length, and it will take on board that new length. And then coming onto the calf. So just to finish off, I'm doing some stretches to the connective tissue. So the connective tissue is really important. It runs through the muscles, around the muscles and all across the body. So if you have tension in your connective tissue, then it can present itself in other places. So just giving that a stretch to finish off the massage. So thank you so much for joining us today for our deep tissue massage demonstration. I hope you found it interesting to see a little bit of an insight into what we do in our deep tissue massage. We will have more videos showing our other massages throughout the month, so do keep an eye on those, and we look forward to seeing you soon for your massage.